it was kind of a sense of responsibility to come back to where I'm born. Being in the United States, life was getting too comfortable, going to a cubicle every day. Respiratory inhalers. Yes. How many did you get? I made the call to my mom and I was like, I'm coming back. No, I don't have a job, but maybe I need to be back home for the job to find me. Kidnappings put a dent not only on the tourism sector, but also on the development projects and aid work in the area. We have about 6 villages that have absolutely zero access to healthcare. We see monthly clinics in at least 10 of the villages, going in with a medical officer, making sure that the drugs in each facility are available. Today we had a 4:35 a.m. departure. It's like a 4-hour journey. Yeah, all of those. Being of the Muslim faith, being raised in that upbringing definitely gives a different connection with people. There is a lot of caution of, why are you going here? You're not supposed to. And as a woman running around pushing this project, it's like, why do that? Why not just stay home, get taken care of? MashaAllah, I don't money. Being here, being close to home, to be able to fill some of the gaps in accessing healthcare. It's been an IV drip for life and purpose. You can see the impact in 0.1 seconds. I have absolutely zero regrets for taking the leap of faith. Wouldn't trade it for anything in the world right now.
Hi everyone, I hope you guys can hear me well. My name is Elena. I'm going to be conducting the first interview today of today's webinar. So just to remind everyone, the reason we all are here today and we have this amazing opportunity to hear some incredibly inspiring stories from people is the UWC Day. Yes, today is September 21st. It's UWC Day, so happy UWC Day to everyone, guys. The topic of today's celebration was announced to be Inspired Change. So, having graduated from the UWC myself this year, I know how important it is for all members of UWC movement to inspire some positive change in this world. And so I'm really happy that today we have this amazing opportunity with this webinar to hear some real life incredible stories from people who have actually lived the UWC mission and who have inspired and who have created some positive change in this world. And our first speaker is going to be Umra Omar. She has graduated from UWC Atlantic College, and she's founder and director of Safari Doctors. And she has also been announced as CNN Hero in 2016. So, could you please introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself, your life, how it all started, just like some basic things?
So my name is Umra, some of you might know, and I am out here in Lamu working with an initiative known as Safari Doctors. And I am actually originally from the islands, but then grew up in Nairobi, and after high school went off to the United World College, which opened a whole door of possibilities that led to doing my undergrad in Oberlin, Ohio in neuroscience. Then I did my master's in social justice and figured out how those two would go together, which then kind of came together as health and human rights. That then brought me back to Kenya and back to New York. And while I was in New York is when I came home to visit and discovered of a project that wasn't operating anymore. And it combined all my passions of health, human rights, and traveling. So now with safari doctors, what we do is we travel around to remote areas of Lamu, which is the islands off the northern coast of Kenya, delivering primary healthcare and education with the youth as the first point of contact for health issues in their communities. Yep, so that's who I am, that's what I do. And I'm a mother, of course, of two kids, two married, and making it happen over here.
This is really amazing. Could you please like extend a little bit about like what you did before you decided to make such a huge shift in your life and started Safari Doctors? What did you do before that, and like what was your journey before you started Safari Doctors?
So before Safari Doctors, we all go through that panic attack when we graduated, and that's like, oh my God, what are you going to do with your life after all the years of schooling? And I was working at the American Psychological Association in DC, an internship that became a job, which after a year was a little, it got a little monotonous of, the American life. You get on the train, you go to work, you're in a cubicle, and, day in, day out, living for the weekends and living for your paycheck. And that for me felt a little, it felt like I was cheating because of, many of us would know when you're in UWC, you feel like you're supposed to be doing something that actually makes a difference in a life that's more than yours. So that little bug kind of made me quit my job. And I was lucky, I ended up finding another opportunity back in Kenya, working for a philanthropy organization, which was a really good experience. You feel good that you're working in this sector of human rights and making a difference. But what was challenging for me is that I was the one behind the desk, enabling people to go out as working in a grant making organization. And it was almost like envy stroke frustration where I felt like I was young and there's people who were working in their communities. And here I was, in a fancy desk in a fancy office. So that lasted for just about 2 years when I just took a break and trying to figure out, okay, what do I really want to be doing in life? And that's when I was on a break and I ended up, doing this thing called getting married, having a kid. And I ended up back in Lamu on vacation and was still, now the focus was on my family, obviously, until I discovered of this project that used to travel. It's called Sailing Doctors. But because of the insecurity in Lamu, and it was a foreign operated initiative, they withdrew from the project. And that's when I was like, you know what, I am from here and I am from the health background. Why don't I see if I can revive or start something very similar? And that's how Safari Doctors was born. But it was a very basic idea of figuring out how to annoy my friends and get their money in order to pay the salary of a nurse who would just travel on a motorbike. So that was, $400 a month, not a big deal. I could even do this when I moved back to New York because that's where I was living at that time because of my husband. And next thing I know, I was telling my husband, okay, let's extend another month and another month. And then it became a year. And then the project grew. We started going to more villages. We had a big exposure from CNN, and it just became a beast in its own. And what was really satisfying is that it actually felt like it was bringing in all the values of, the social justice component, making a difference, and bringing in people from all over the world to kind of be a part of what we're doing, with the community buy-in, because that's where I'm from. And it really kind of, it was a duplication of what was the Go Mad project that I got while I was in UWC, where my role was like, to come back, bring different stakeholders together. And I was doing an AIDS awareness campaign. And what we do right now, I call myself just a matchmaker. So all I do is just kind of, bring in the medicines, connect the doctors, figure out how we can travel from point A to point B. And then when you see things coming together, it looks like this one kind of cohesive initiative. So that's how my journey brought me from United World College to my undergrad in the US to a job in America, then back home, back in the US because of this thing called being a woman and settling down. And then somehow coming home and having my purpose finding me in a place that made more sense.
Yeah.
Okay, so like you several times, you already mentioned that you have graduated from UWC Atlantic College. So could you
Mhm.
please like talk a little bit more about how UWC experience has influenced you and like influenced what you're doing now in your life?
So the UWC was like the biggest culture shock I had in my life. From the spaghetti gang to the kiss the teddy bear gang to sharing a room with like
Mhm.
people from 3 different continents, having a roommate that was Korean, Argentinian, speaking like it was just like the most mind-boggling experience ever. And I remember one of the biggest shocks though was being in a place that said we're responsible as young people, as young adults, from the community service
Mhm.
to it was just responsibility, especially as an African woman where you come from a society that pretty much outlines most of what you're supposed to be doing. So that UWC experience just magnified that we're not really young. We're actually responsible people that have a functioning brain and need to make decisions that make our world a better place for ourselves. Because it's like we are the ones that we're going to be growing into this world. So Atlantic College for me was literally like the game changer, where I
Mhm.
met. It challenged my stereotypes. It build my esteem. It opened a whole world of opportunities from the teachers to the fellow students to just being in Wales, and living, studying in a castle in itself. There's like kind of an Alice in Wonderland of change and possibilities. Yeah.
Yes, I absolutely agree with you on that. So, how did you decide to make such a big shift in your life and move back to Kenya? Because you mentioned that you lived in New York before that, and I guess it was a huge change for you. Like, what was the thing that inspired you, like, made you change your life at that point?
I think it just, first of all, it's realizing we're educated usually and in a system where we feel like what we're trying to achieve is out there in the sky, where it's
Mhm.
actually within us and within our communities. We think that, making a difference or making an impact is working at the World Health Organization. In my case, it's being in DC, WHO, making policy change. Like that's what we are brainwashed into thinking. Whereas coming here and the fact that I was here on vacation, it wasn't like an intentional thing. It happened. It was just an organic experience. Whereas we spend too much time like strategizing too much on something very far removed. So what that brought is that with the whole UWC spirit is that it made everyone's reality is valid, and you can make change and be part of something that's smaller, but your impact and your footprint is much bigger. So for me, coming here, it wasn't like a big adjustment, like I said, because it's not like, oh, I packed up everything, I'm going to Kenya or I'm going to Lamu to figure out how I'm gonna, work and feel like I'm of use to the world. It's just I happen to be in a place, and when you're in that ecosystem, you see where there's a need, and if your heart and your mind is open, then you start thinking of ways to address that need. So it's just having your eyes open, and for me, it was being the fact that I was conscious that okay, I'm ready to serve. So please, universe, figure out how I'm going to be of service, and the intention of just being in the right place and the need being there. Yeah, I don't miss New York at all.
Mm. Okay, so safari doctors have received such a big response from international community and like from media. You have been announced CNN Hero in 2016. Did you was it something that you expected or it was completely unexpected for you? And like, how did you deal with this recognition?
It's totally unexpected. Safari Doctors was only a year and a half old when we got that exposure, and then we're in a part of the world that's considered not safe, and it was just such a, it's just a tiny little corner in reality. So that was way out of the blue, but it kind of for me was that saying of aim for the stars and land on the moon type of thing. And for us, what that did is that it put the pressure and the spotlight to be more intentional in the work that we're doing. Because like, okay, the world is watching, the community is watching. there's expectations. So we literally went from like a 3-man operation, and now we're like about 13 of us, and with the whole with these tentacles of 12 football teams that we work with, and 30 youth ambassadors. So it within like, and now we're barely 4 years old. So what that exposure really did was kind of make us grow like as if we're on GMO, like genetically modified growth, as opposed to the organic chicken that's still cruising around, which is good and bad at the same time. So we kind of have to, we're a small organization that have to operate on international standards.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so, like, what are the biggest challenges that you are facing? Let's say like that you have been facing in the very beginning when you just started, and like what challenges are you facing now that you like grew and like you have more experience now?
So when we just started, it was more of, are we the having our rapport with the community? It's like, are we really delivering what we say we're delivering? And there's the expectations that you have to meet. And you have this question of, okay, will we be able to have our doors open next month and the following month? So that was really challenging, kind of when you have something that you're really passionate about, but you're not sure if it's gonna last or survive, or
Mm-hmm.
like grow legs. It's kind of like that, what mothers would call that first trimester of birth, where you're like, okay, be careful. You kind of, there's that worry. And then now it's a different the biggest challenge now is our proof of impact, because we have to prove that we're actually making a difference, because we're getting all this support.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, are we really making a difference? So now, when making a difference is no longer counted by smiles and giggles, but by like facts and figures and numbers, and then also with the staff, how do you maintain organizational growth of an institution? How do you maintain relationships with the government and the donors? So now it's more on a management level. And while
Mm-hmm.
still, how do you do all of this while still maintaining the heart of the organization, like the passion, where the staff still want to show up in the morning, where you still want to show up in the morning? So that's the,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, growth.
Uh, okay. So, has there been like a moment in the probably in the beginning when you thought that maybe it's not the right thing to do, that maybe like you did too big change to your life and like you wanted to quit? Was it such moment, or you like always knew that everything's gonna work out well?
It's interesting. It's like a double-edged sword. It's both. There's one minute where you're like, oh, we like, we don't know how, like right now, where we're like, we have a huge project and overheads, like there's a lot of pressure, and it makes you feel like, oh god, what am I doing, what are we doing? And now you've brought all these people on board to buy into this vision and to this work, and you feel like it's just like I don't even know how to say it, like the biggest cloud. And then there's other moments where it's like, we're doing the right thing. It's a bipolar experience. I could go right now and I'd be so high and excited because, oh, we have support and this is going to go through, and then the next day you hear, oh, somebody is pulled out of the project, and now you're back to ground zero. So it's kind of, it has its moments of ups and downs, which is good once you realize with whatever you're doing, is like, you're like, this is a moment, it's an experience that I'm going through, but it's not going to dictate the outcome of the big picture. And you try to kind of pull yourself out of that zone. And then, or you're like, this is a good moment, I'm going to try and ride it for as long as I can, because even the good moment is not going to stay there forever. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. So
Mhm.
you have mentioned several times like how your organization is structured and like where you're getting funding from. Could you please like extend more about that, because I feel like it's very interesting for viewers.
So when we started the first year, it was purely on savings and crowd rise, like a friend
Mm-hmm.
donating $10 or being like, hey, don't drink your Starbucks this month, instead put fuel in our motorbike. So it was like from $300 to $500 a month operations, where it's about
Mm-hmm.
the nurse, the motorbike, and the fuel and the gas for the vaccines. That was it. We did that for a whole year with nobody knowing. Everyone thought I was just like this idle person in the village that had nothing to do and just sits on her laptop all day. And then from there, now we have the data to support our work in applying for grants and getting like bigger support. We're like, okay, every month we're able to reach this many people. We have this many kids vaccinated and so forth. So that was year two now, where it's like, okay, somebody who's more philanthropic would come on board and be like, okay, these guys are actually doing something. Here you go. And then year three now, after the CNN and after us being out on the field longer, is when we were actually able to reach into bigger partnerships and bigger grants. You know, if we get an airline to take our medicines for free, we could get a hotel to donate hotel rooms because there's volunteer doctors coming. So it's pretty much like a UWC feel of bringing different parts together. And then now we
Mhm.
have hired, because with the CNN came some resources to invest in personnel. And for me, that was a decision. Do we use this money for buying more medicines or do we invest in people? And that was, I think, the wisest decision was let's invest in people who can then invest in resources. So that those were the strategic decisions in year three that have allowed us to now be like, you know, a more stable institution that can withstand bigger support, that can show the results of what we're doing and engage a wider community area.
Mhm. So you mentioned several times that like you have a lot of people helping you. You have donors who are donating some funds to your organization. But my question is like us as UWC students, graduates, alumni, can we somehow contribute to your movement? Can we help in any way? Are there like any possibilities for that?
So with our, absolutely, we have a very strong online presence and a very strong development and communications person, where depending on what someone feels like they have to offer and what we need, because also it has to be a mutual, it has to be a gain for the person supporting and a gain for us. So whether it's our outreach clinic, somebody just wants to put fuel in there, or whether they want to pass on the message of what we're doing, or they want to come and volunteer. You know, you're like, okay, I'm a website designer, I want to, you know, vamp up your website. We have a vet program. Somebody might want to adopt a pet. So it's a whole spectrum of possibilities because we have our footprints in the community and try to address the various components of health, and health tapped into everything. So if, you know, if it's an accountant and they're like, okay, I can help in uh, figuring out your petty cash stuff with your accountant, and if we're like, oh, that's a need that we have, then we can work with that. But online is where we usually have, we pump out all our information in our newsletter. Or somebody's like, I want to do a bake sale and I want this to go to neutering the cats in Lamu. So it's more of somebody understanding what it is that we do and then figuring out what their passion and where they feel their talent or their pockets would apply most. Yeah.
Mhm.
So like
Okay.
right now we're in the process of building a veterinary clinic, and you know, we have somebody might come on board and they're like, yeah, that's something I want to be a part of because I'm very you know, I'm an animal lover or so forth. Yeah.
Mhm.
Hmm.
That's amazing. Yeah, that's amazing. Another question is, so you come so far, you started from almost like zero, and you're making such a huge impact right now. So, what are your future plans for development? Like, what are your goals, plans?
So if for us as safari doctors, we can streamline the model that healthcare needs to go to people, especially in rural and poor areas, as opposed to people trying to figure out where facilities are. And by the time someone's coming to the hospital, they're already too sick. Is that we want to strengthen the preventative and primary health and see if we can be an implementing arm for the government of Kenya. We're like, you know, with every county, Safari Doctors is the one that handles the outreach model of healthcare, preventative and primary health. So for that, we, you know, we need to have our data in place, our finances in place, our brand in place, and all of that. But it's to be that movement that brings healthcare to the doorsteps of those who need it the most.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay, so you so Safari Doctors is like a huge part of your life right now, as I see. And but like, what if not Safari Doctors? What would you do? Like, what would like what alternative life? What would you do?
I would say when people ask me what do, I say my job is to see how I can play a role in making the lives of the people around me the way I would want my life to be. So,
Mhm.
in addition to Safari Doctors, I started a school because my kids needed to go to school and there's not a good school. But as a result, there's other kids from the neighborhood that come into the school as well. So if it wasn't for that, it's more, I'm all about human connection and communication. So it's just
Mhm.
about seeing how we just improve our surroundings and try and, you know, at least have everyone live in the same dignity that I would like to, whether that would be through a book that I would write or through a song that I cannot sing because I'm not a singer, or through, whatever around it that helps the immediate space that surrounds me and beyond. Yeah.
Mhm.
But I would not be an accountant, that's for sure.
Yes. So you are you can be a very good role model for young women who want to make some change in this world. So, from your perspective, did you face any challenges being a woman who wants to make a change in this world? Did it make it like harder for you, or like?
The biggest challenge that I have had as a woman at any point is to at any time internalize what opinion might be around me, especially coming from a conservative context, like, oh, she shouldn't be wearing trousers, or why is she out so late at night, or why is she sitting surrounded by so many men. So, like, there's always all these things that go around that place judgment and expectations of women. So the biggest challenge is to not to kind of have that vision, know where your allies are, know where your enemies, or I don't like the word enemies, but your potential allies would be, and not internalize those voices or those expectations. So it's kind of like somebody being like, "Oh, you can't climb that tree," and you're like, "Let me show you how to climb that tree," type of thing. And once you kind of breaks through that, then you're pretty much unstoppable. And then the context comes around and follows your trail. So I think it's just about listening to your core and trusting that gut as a woman, because everything around us is designed to make us not trust our gut, including our hormones.
Yes. So um, a lot of young people are listening to us now, and we all, including me, we are all really like inspired by your story. But do you have any kind of advice for us, or like how can we make a change in this world? Like, what's the road that we should take? Any advice?
One of my favorite sayings is by Rumi, the poet, and he says that you're not a drop in the ocean, you're the whole ocean in one drop. So for us, instead of feeling like, oh, I'm small, who am I to kind of, be able to do this or that, is that actually you're everything to be able to do that. And it doesn't have to be something that you're shooting out there in the world. It's actually within us already, especially as women. So it's knowing that there is that power just within you of starting something small. Like a fire starts with a spark. And so you have to truly believe that you are that spark in lighting your fire that will then light other candles and another candle and another one. Yeah.
That's really amazing, really inspiring. Thank you so much for joining us today, for sharing your amazing story. It was really interesting, and I'm very sure that it inspired a lot of people in this webinar to do something to inspire change in this world, to create a change in this world, as UWC mission says about it.
If you can do something about, if you can do something, like, if you can't, then it means you have to do something about it. Like, if you have the ability to make a difference or to pick up that piece of paper that somebody trashed, then it means you must do something about it. That's the rule number one.
Mhm. So guys, if you have any questions to Umra, you can ask it now. You will be you will go online if you want to ask a question, so Umra will be able to hear you. So please be free to raise a hand and like ask a question. We can wait for a couple of minutes for questions.
No problem.
Sure.
I can see.
Hey, can you hear me right now, guys?
Yes,
Yes,
I
we
think
can hear
so.
you.
Hey, Umra, I just wanted to quickly ask one question. How do you manage all the things that are happening in your life, like fit them all in your life in one day, in a week, per month, you know, because you seem to manage many things at the same time, your kids, your family, your work, your hobbies, and it seems impossible to do it all. How do you manage it?
It seems like I think we all have we underutilize our power. I think we're all super creatures, and the resilience of the human is quite astounding. Especially after you give birth to these little creatures that really test you a lot, which are called children. I happen to be fortunate that I work in a setting where if I need to plug out, it's easy, and there's that social network of it's a communal place where I am in Lamu. You know, I might be like, oh, okay, you know what, the kids right now need to go to their grandparents, and I can do that. Or I need to go take a walk on the beach and just to kind of take these 3 minutes to decompress. And then the other thing is also the team that I have. It's quite an amazing team. I have never worked in such a working environment myself, as far as, and sometimes it's not somebody doing the work or you delegating, but it's in how the passion. When you're surrounded by people who are passionate and driven, it's very infectious. So we could be sitting until 9-10 p.m. working on something, but it doesn't feel like we're sitting till 9 p.m. working something. It feels like you, like they say, very cliche, if you love what you do, then it doesn't really feel like work. So all of that, whether it's the kids, whether it's the school that we run, whether it's the hotel property that I manage, or safari doctors, is that there's all this positive energy, and I think that's what really fuels us, and we take for granted. Because it's the same way you can go to work and not have that much work, but have a very toxic working environment, and within like 3-4 hours you feel super exhausted and like you want to break somebody's head. So we manage because all those factors coming together is the magic of my life. I feel very blessed for that.
Mm-hmm.
So surround yourself by positive energy. Today I had to tell somebody, please, I can't talk to you right now anymore because you're sucking all the energy that I have for my day. and and that's what it is. Or you're like, oh, let's talk a little longer because you're giving me, an extra burst of energy to keep moving. Yeah.
We got another question here. Person is asking, what would you recommend people who want to study in UWC? I guess like how to use UWC experience to its maximum.
UWC experience to your maximum is, first, don't take yourself too seriously. Number one. And then number two is that you'd be surprised at how many UWCs and opportunities that there are, and it's quite a beautiful cult. Is that if I had anyone tell me something, it would be just do what you love, because at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter, because it's the grades. So even if I could go back, let's say, I would do much more creative classes and so forth, because that's what I realize I am. So it's just that don't take it too seriously and just focus on what you love doing, and then the rest is gonna fall into place.
Yeah, that is an amazing advice. I completely agree with you. If anyone, I guess no one really has questions anymore. At least I don't have anything in my inbox. So I guess we're gonna finish now. Thank you again so much for joining us.
Thank you all. Thanks, Helena.
Okay, have a nice day.
Ciao.
Good
Thank you
luck
all.
with your project. Good luck. I
And
hope.
to all of you all, eat your life with a very big spoon, okay?
Yes. Thank you so much. Bye
Ciao.
bye. We're gonna go offline now, guys. Thank you so much
Uh,
for coming to this webinar. I hope it was interesting. I hope you enjoyed listening to Umra's story. I personally really did. So thank you so much. Bye.
Thank you. Sorry for being late. Ciao.